We're due to go live.
Good evening, Astrid. I was impressed with that dream catcher behind you.
Okay. We're now live. Councillor Ward, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bev, and welcome to this meeting of the Shard End Ward Forum. We do have on this evening's agenda an update on COVID-19, which we have the Deputy Director of Public Health here to talk to us about that. Then we're going to have a presentation and some information on the census, which has been carried out this year. So last time the census was carried out would have been back in 2011, and obviously things have moved on since then. So it's quite important to gather all of this statistical information. So we will be having a presentation from the Census Engagement Manager for Central Birmingham, Aisha Riemann. We'll come to that in due course. And then we'll have a number of local updates, myself, the police, highways, and any issues that residents or community groups wish to raise. So my name, if you're not aware, is Ian Ward, and I am the elected representative on Birmingham City Council for the Shard End Ward. I'm happy to take any questions a little later on that anybody might have. Whether you may be aware that I'm also the leader of the council, so do feel free to ask me questions on anything connected with the council, and I will try to answer those when we get to that item on the agenda. Just let someone in. Okay, so the first thing I need to let everybody know is that if you could keep your microphone on mute and your camera switched off until you're asked to come in and speak. That way we won't cause a problem with bandwidth and have people thrown out of the meeting because their bandwidth can't cope. But obviously when you are called in to speak, you can switch your camera on so we can all see who you are. And for members of the public, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself when you are called to speak, just say who you are. That would be helpful. And then item 1 on the agenda for this evening is the notice of recording. So I just need to inform everybody in the meeting that residents who are listening, participating in this meeting, and indeed anyone else, that the meeting is being recorded and will be available for future record through the council's website, I believe. But you are more than welcome to take photos or record this meeting as we go along through it. So with that, if everybody's reasonably content, we'll move straight on to item 2 on the agenda, which is the update on the current virus and the current pandemic, which if you've been paying attention to the newspapers and the media, you'll know we've been in a pretty tough situation over recent weeks with increasing numbers of people going down with the virus across Birmingham, increasing hospitalisations of people, and unfortunately we've seen an increase in the number of deaths as well that go with that. So just before I bring in Elizabeth, who's Deputy Director of Public Health, let me say to everybody in the meeting, we do need to continue to follow all of the rules and the regulations around this current lockdown. It's the only way we're going to get these case rate numbers back down again and ensure the NHS in Birmingham is not overwhelmed. And also, of course, and we may go on to discuss this, we have the rollout of the vaccine that's continuing at quite a pace, actually. I think the NHS is doing a remarkable job in getting the vaccine rolled out. And that is, of course, our way out of the current pandemic. So we need to get people as vaccinated as quickly as we can. So with that, I shall pass over to Elizabeth. And if anybody wants to ask a question or make a comment, do please raise your electronic hand. Or if you haven't got that facility on your device, if you put something on the chat, I'll try to keep an eye on that as well. Okay, Elizabeth, over to you.
Thank you, Councillor Ward, and thank you everyone for having me here this evening. As Councillor Ward says, it is still a sobering picture, I'm afraid, in terms of coronavirus rates that we're seeing in the city. We have started to see a slight decline in the numbers. They're coming down. I think we've probably reduced by about 20% in the last week in terms of our case rates. We're now at 584.5 per 100,000 cases. So although we are starting to come down now, we're not coming down as quick as some of the other parts of the country. And in fact, the West Midlands as a whole is seeing a slower reduction in those cases than we're seeing elsewhere. So quite a steady levelling off and starting to decline, whereas some of the other areas such as London and the east of England, southeast of England, that would have seen high rates before Christmas have come down a lot quicker than we have. With our testing, we are having more people test now, and that's testing when people have symptoms, as well as offering our tests for asymptomatic people. So they're people who don't have coronavirus symptoms. We've got offers for them too. What we're seeing is, of those people that are experiencing symptoms, about a fifth of those are coming back with a positive test. So a fifth of those people tested when they have symptoms are coming back with a positive result. In terms of our case rate, we're quite high compared to the rest of the country. So I think the latest puts us at about within the top 20 areas within England in terms of our case rates, and that's for upper tier authorities like Birmingham or counties and those kind of things. As Councillor Ward says, there are still increases in hospital admissions, and the NHS continues to be under pressure with the staffing and ambulances, etc. It is a sobering picture, I'm afraid. In terms of Shard End Ward, this ward's currently ranking about 45th out of the 69 wards in Birmingham. So it's by no means got the highest rates, but what we are seeing is more cases within the over 80 population in this ward than we are than we see in other parts of the city. When you look at ages, for a breakdown of the cases that we're seeing in this ward, 13% are in your children, so that's the 0 to 19-year-old age groups. 39% are in the 20 to 39 age groups. 27% are in the 40 to 49 age groups. 10% are 60 to 79, and as I mentioned, there are 11% in the 80s and over, which is considerably larger than we're seeing elsewhere in the city. That rings true. The working age population is certainly what's driving our cases in other parts of the city and in the region. So yeah, I'll go on to say how some of that transmission is occurring. In terms of ethnicity, I would say that what we're seeing, quite a lower number in terms of our Asian population, so just 6% are from the Asian ethnicity group, 6% from Black ethnicity groups, 6% mixed other, with the remainder coming from the white population. But that seems to be reasonable in comparison to the demographic makeup of this ward. Most of the spread that we are seeing, and this is Birmingham as a whole as well as in the Shard End ward, are primarily through household spread. So if one member of the household brings coronavirus into that household, it's often spreading to other members of the household, but that's by no means a given. There are some very clear steps that we can take to try and reduce the risk of coronavirus spread within a household, such as regular cleaning, and these are cleaning products that do have some chlorine in, so they can kill those bugs. It's social distancing where you can within your household. It's eating meals at different times where that's possible. It's allocating times to use the toilet and the bathroom for those people that are particularly vulnerable in those households, and making sure that there's thorough cleaning in between. Or if you are able to allocate a bathroom for one person and the rest of the household use the other one. I recognise that's not possible in all households by any means, but there are different ways that we can do to really try and protect those vulnerable people in households and prevent that spread going on. The other place that this transmission is occurring is through social interactions, and what we're seeing is perhaps people letting their guard down when they are in the park and not maintaining 2 metre distance when they happen to chance upon a friend and having a conversation. It's in the supermarket, potentially people again not maintaining that 2 metre distance, and really I need to push this message about wearing those masks and regular hand cleansing through sanitizers when you're out and about, and soap and water when you're at home. The other place that things are happening are around workforces, and we recognise that there are businesses where people aren't able to work from home, so they are going into those situations. And quite often when we speak to the organisations concerned, or the people that when we're following up on an outbreak, we understand that actually the transmission is occurring not necessarily on the shop floor or when they're in the public facing part of it, but it's in the break rooms, or it's in the travel to business where people perhaps are letting their guard down, they're car sharing, they're having a smoking break, chatting away, and not then adhering to those COVID safe rules that we've been implementing throughout the coronavirus outbreak. What we are doing around workplaces is really trying to push for workplaces to introduce testing, regular testing of those staff members that can't work from home. So we are setting up a series of test sites across the city within a workplace environment, so that those staff that do have to come into work are able to test every 3 days. And as soon as you get a positive result in that situation, they are isolating and thus stopping that coronavirus coming into the workplace and then out into other households. In addition to workplace testing, the other thing that we are certainly increasing across the city now is public access tests to our asymptomatic testing. We've got the Utilita Arena, the old NIA site, where you can walk up and have a test for any member of the public, but we're also rolling out across our pharmacies. So I think this week we should have 100 pharmacies that are ready and able to take people in for tests. And over the coming weeks, we'll be rolling out to a number of other community locations across the city. I think we're aiming for 24 across the city once we leave the Utilita Arena. So those will be sites right across that are easily accessed. And we also have 3 mobile vans which we can send to different parts of the city to again increase access for people who are wanting testing. So there's a number of things in the pipeline, already some that's available, and really my plea here is to encourage people to have regular testing if they are having to go out to a workplace. I also wanted to speak about community champions while I'm here. Community champions programme is something that we've got as a means of getting information out to communities about coronavirus. So we're giving the latest information, the latest data, the latest messaging out to these champions within communities, who are then sharing that with their contacts, but also, and just as important, collecting information from those communities in terms of what messaging is working, what isn't working, and what can we do better to get and better support our communities. We're hoping for 1,500 community champions. At the moment we have 600, but we only have 3 in your ward. So I'd really encourage members of the ward in Chardenne to come forward and put themselves forward to be a community champion, so we can help getting the messages out there. I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks very much, Elizabeth. Yes, I've signed up to be a community champion. It's not too onerous. It's simply about passing on messages and communicating with people. So anybody really who operates on social media will be able to contribute to this if you do become a champion. So I would encourage it. I'm not seeing any hands at the moment. Does anybody have any questions, or indeed any comments about the current situation that we find ourselves in? It's not every week that you get the Deputy Director of Public Health and have the opportunity to ask a question of such a person. So I would encourage that. I've got a question in the chat actually. How do you sign up as a community champion, Elizabeth?
Oh, it's via our website. I'll find the link for you and I'll add it to the chat so that you can get to it directly.
Okay. Aisha?
That was my question. How do you sign up? Because I'd be happy to sign up for it.
Wonderful. Thank you. I will have a go now.
Okay. Anybody, anything else for Elizabeth? Just given where we're are now at, Elizabeth, and the fact that our case rate is not falling as quickly as elsewhere in the country, as you know from a meeting we were in earlier on today, we are making some suggestions to the Secretary of State, Matt Hancock, about what else might be done to try and drive cases down more quickly. And a key part of that is getting testing into the workplace. In the instance where people are having to go into work because they cannot work from home, what can people do if they do, or if they're nervous, or if they've got questions about what should be really happening in their workplace to keep them safe?
Oh, absolutely. So we can certainly take some of those questions within public health, and in terms of workplaces who might be interested in doing a testing programme, please do contact me, and either myself or a member of my team can talk through what that means and what should be happening. At the moment, it's not compulsory for workplaces to be doing testing and regular testing, so we really want to make it as easy as we can for workplaces to start doing this. And one of the asks that Councillor Ward mentioned there for for government was to enable that. We'd really like to be able to offer support for workplaces, so that's testing, that's incentives, etc., to make that as easy as possible, because we need to stop it coming into workplaces and then coming back out into our communities again. So testing that and getting people to isolate as soon as they get the results is the way forward.
Thanks. Aisha?
So something, I've been on a few forums for COVID with extended community groups, and what we found is that a lot of the COVID virus is being spread through car sharing. So people are sharing cars to go to places, and they're not thinking about that they actually are spreading it in that environment. So if you're someone to hospital, or someone, so just things like that, so maybe like community members can be sort of wary about that if they are taking somebody somewhere that doesn't live in their household, to make sure they wear that mask when they're driving. Some people aren't.
Did you hear that in full, Elizabeth?
I didn't quite catch all of it, but I think it was around car sharing for people who aren't in the household. So our strong advice is that you should not be carpooling with anyone that you don't live with. Absolutely.
Yeah, but what we found is, in where people are sharing workplace, they're going to the same workplace, a group of people, they are sharing a car, and then they're going into that workplace. So I think it's just something for us to be wary of, that these things do happen.
Thank you. We are trying, I mean, we are through our environmental health colleagues, as well as our community wardens, trying to strengthen these messages, but I'll take that on board, and we'll try and strengthen that one where we can, because we shouldn't be carpooling with anyone we don't live with. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Don Salmons has posted in the chat that he's had his jab at the Harlequin last Saturday along with his wife. So that's good news, that Donald. I'm really pleased to hear that you've been and had your vaccination. As I said a little bit earlier, this is the only way out of this at the moment, is to get as many people, not just in this country, but around the entirety of the world, vaccinated as quickly as we can. And of course, the vaccination program is the other thing that, if you do want to ask any questions about that or make a comment about it, please do come in. Although the vaccination program is being led by the National Health Service, obviously Elizabeth and myself will attempt to answer any questions you might have. So anybody on that, either Elizabeth's presentation or indeed the vaccination Oh, here we go. What percentage of the population are you aiming to have vaccinated to get back to normal? Yeah, Elizabeth. So what percentage do we have to get vaccinated in order to have protection?
So the way the vaccination programme is working currently is that they've obviously been looking at the information that comes through, and at the moment the vaccination is concentrated on those people who are most vulnerable because they are more likely to have a worse outcome should they contract coronavirus. So at the moment the vaccine is about trying to protect those people to stop us having, unfortunately, as deaths from coronavirus or really adverse outcomes. At this stage, given that we are in the first stages of this rollout, it's not so much about stopping that transmission. It's about protection in the first instance. As more and more people are vaccinated and as more and more vaccine becomes available and the rollout and all of those things, then it starts to shift and it becomes about how many people in the population can we do to stop that transmission. But we're not quite there yet. We haven't yet got to the point where we're talking about the herd immunity bit, because at the moment the strategy is about trying to protect those vulnerable people. But when we do have that information, of course, we'll share that with you.
Councillor, you're on mute.
Thank you. What I was saying was when it comes your time in the queue, as it were, to go and get vaccinated, when you get your letter from the NHS, I want to encourage everybody to go forward and have the vaccination, because as I'm repeatedly saying, it is the only way we're going to get out of this current situation and see a return to something more like normal life as we knew it this time last year. It's incredible, actually, as we get to the end of January and into the beginning of February. The first lockdown occurred on March the 23rd, so we're almost a year into this now, and it's incredible that science throughout the world has managed to come up with not just one vaccine, but a number of vaccines. And what we have to do now to bring this to an end is get as many people vaccinated as we can. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else, so unless anybody's got anything on this, then I'm going to suggest we do move on. So can I thank you, Elizabeth, for that information and all of that data. And thank you very much for attending Shard End Ward Forum.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay, we'll now move on to item 3, which is the census for 2021. As I said a little bit earlier, I've lost my email now. Just bear with me a second. As I said a little bit earlier, we are joined this evening by the Census Engagement Manager for Central Birmingham. You've already heard from her because she asked a couple of questions of Elizabeth. So I'm going to pass over to Aisha Raymond, who's going to talk to us about how the census will be carried out this year. Aisha.
Everyone. So if I can have my slides on the screen. I'll just introduce myself while that's happening. So my name's Aisha Rahman, and I'm the Census Engagement Manager for the Centre of Birmingham. Shard End comes under that particular area, but we are representing the whole of Birmingham with 2 colleagues as well. So the census will be happening on Sunday, the 21st of March. So I'm not sure if you're aware of what the census is, so this is just a snapshot of what it is. So I'm just going to turn my camera on so you can see me. So, right, okay, so hopefully you can see me. So, so census is a survey that happens every 10 years, and everyone in the UK and Wales takes part in that survey. The ONS, which is the Office for National Statistics, is responsible for the census in England and Wales, and the census is important because it gives the most detailed information we have about our society, and it happens every 10 years. So Scotland and Northern Ireland do their own census about the same time as we do, but they have delayed theirs due to the COVID situation. So next slide, please. Right, so keeping personal information safe is something that people tend to be very worried about currently with the GDPR and policies and everything and data protection. So before we publish our statistics, we make sure that they don't include any personal information. So the data is captured up to and beyond Sunday, the 21st of March, and then it's takes 12 months for it to be gathered, and then it's held securely for 100 years, and it's held anonymously. It's only released in detail, as in personal data, every 100 years. So people are not aware of that. So people that are concerned, or communities that are worried about their data being exposed to the public domain, it isn't until 100 years later. Everyone must complete the census, and it was legislation made the modern census a legal obligation in 1920. Next slide, please. So why do we have a census? So the census provides information for the government for the forward planning for the next 10 years. So it shapes policy, it allocates resources into the correct groups, so i.e. places of worship, doctors, dentists, community centres, and it plans services, and it also monitors equality and ethnicity and where the services are needed in the correct areas. Next slide, please. So there's never been a more important time, a moment, to understand the needs of the population due to the situation with COVID and the 12 months of what we've experienced. So, this census is probably one of, if not the most important census we're ever going to partake in. So this is just a snapshot that the census gives information and informs decisions that improve lives. So it looks at planning and development. So it looks at information used to develop local plans to better and reflect the future needs and to identify inequalities at a very local level. So that will be sort of nationalities, ethnicities, local council areas and wards and local authorities with what the demographic of the people are that are in that particular area. It looks at public health and social care. It uses this data to inform service demand and to make sure that we cover health deprivation and support future care planning for the next 10 years. And it looks at housing. So it looks at information is used to assess local housing and needs and to measure housing affordability. So where you've got areas where there's overcrowding or large clusters of people moving into the area, if we capture everybody with them completing the census, we can forward plan how many houses are needed so that doesn't happen in the future. Next slide, please. So education. So a look at some pupil forecasting so it can get the right amount of teachers, and it can monitor the supply of the type of qualifications, qualities they need in teachers and what qualifications they need and what subjects they were teaching. And it also looks at transport. So it's used to look at funding bids for roads improvements and informs planning and profiles around areas of transport change. And it will also look at other factors, for instance, emergency services, libraries, waste collection, disposal, fire, dentists, doctors, school places, places of worship, basically everything that society needs to be able to survive. So what happens next? So I'm the ONS Census Engagement Manager for Birmingham Central. So I'm here to support the local communities and create that awareness. We are also in the process of doing a huge recruitment campaign for some temporary jobs that will be available across Birmingham, and they're all in different areas. So some will be field staff roles, which will be for 2 to 3 months, and some of the roles will be telephone support, and some will be working at the census support centres, which I'll go over a bit later. So I'm happy to share a leaflet which is about the recruitment. So if there is anyone in your community that's looking for work, albeit it is temporary, it's quite an interesting job to do, and it's sort of helping out, and it's a paid job. So all households will receive an invitation to fill out the census questionnaire, and a household access code will be given. So why you will have an access code is because it's the first time that the census will be done digitally. So it's the first online census. So as well as that, so as well as information to help them, and it will contain information to help them complete that form online. You can also request a paper form at that stage if you prefer to complete it via the paper form. And what you'll do is you just contact the Census support centres, give them the access code, and a paper form will be sent to you. There'll be a huge media campaign to encourage the participation, and that will start in February right the way up to Sunday the 21st of March. And we'll be working within the community to support those who need help, including help to get them online and direct them to the Census support centres and the Census helplines if they're struggling because they don't have digital access or they don't have internet access or computer access, because we're aware that we have an issue in Birmingham, that not everybody has the means to get these to use these forums. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm here to sort of support build the links with local councils, local community organisations, and trusted local leaders and charities. So I'm doing a lot of networking, and I've been doing it since September. So I'm sort of building the momentum up to get that info out. There is a lot of social media content that we can send out to you, and there's a lot of pamphlets and posters if anybody needs them. You just need to contact me direct and I can get them out to you. We're here to raise awareness to help people understand why they do the census and why it's so very important for them as individuals in their households to do this, because it's their time to be accounted for so that they have the right to the resources in the right area. So it's really, really important that people complete their census this year. And we'll support local communities with the specific needs, such as providing support for those that don't have English as a first language, or they don't have great internet access or computer knowledge. So the support will be there, and that will all be provided through myself, and I'll direct you in the right direction. Okay, next slide, please. So we can't do it without the community, and we can't do it without the help of the local councillors either. So the census happens every 10 years, and it gives us a picture of all the people and households in England and Wales. The information we collect is vital to ensuring it will help all communities to get what they need, i.e. the resources for schools, doctors and community centres. That's just a small amount of them. But as discussed earlier, there's a lot more that it sort of factors in. So the local knowledge and the expertise is essential to support successful completion of the census in your area. It helps ensure the census information continues to improve and protect and save lives. So without you contributing and doing it and spreading the word within your community, that census becomes irrelevant if it isn't returned with a number that's over 75%. And by supporting us, it will lead a lasting impact in your community. Next slide. Okay, just want to say thank you for listening. There is a lot more data and content that I can give you, but I was just wary of time on this forum. Now, if you want to contact me directly, I will share my details with Bev, and she can email them out to you, and I'm happy for anybody to contact me for any support they need. And thank you so much for giving me the time to share my knowledge with you. Okay.
Thanks very much, Aisha. I can't quite believe this, but 40 years ago, 1981, I worked on the census, going around helping people fill out the form. Give away my age.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a comment actually in the chat from Donald about if you do complete the census online, is it on a secure website? I assume the answer to that must be yes, Aisha.
Yes, it's all secure. It's all none of that data is accessible. They've gone through all the testing, and we did a rehearsal 12 months ago, so it's all been tested and it is all secure.
Okay, and then Lisa has posted how many questions will be asked, and will the questions differ from previously?
So there will be 2 new questions, actually, I forgot to mention that. So there's 2 new questions that will be added to the census this year, and they are relate to if anybody that served in the armed forces previously. So it's to capture that community so that we can get them the right resources. And there will be a question on sexual orientation. These are both voluntary questions. People don't have to answer them, but if they do want to, it's for the LGBT community so that they are captured as well, and that we can get the resources in the right places for that community. So there are 2 new questions that will be added to the census, but they're voluntary questions.
Okay, and as you've been saying, this information is used to inform decisions by both government and local government about the allocation of resources. So it is important. Anybody, anything else on this? Any further questions or comments? So Astrid's asking about, you have a list of all local organisations, charities, communities and any community-orientated groups. Could this be shared with the public? I assume any information you've got on that would all be publicly available information?
Yeah, it's publicly available. So when I've captured these contacts that I have, it's just really been by emails, networking through my contacts. So it's not confidential information, but some of it is their own personal emails and their personal data. So some of it is sensitive, but it's nothing that I haven't found off the internet. And my extended contacts that I have within the community. A lot of it has been provided by councillors as well within their community. So, but the majority of them, just to clarify, are places like places of worship, local community centres, and a lot of schools as well. So we're working with the schools. There's a schools programme for primary and secondary, so I'm working with them as well.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything?
I mean, Astrid, I can give you my details if you, which I'll forward to Bev, and Bev can share them. And if there's anything that you want to know about a specific community within your area, I'm happy to share that with you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Aisha, and thanks for coming along this evening, giving up your time to explain all that to us. That is appreciated.
Very much. Thank you.
And good luck with the census in Birmingham. Okay, we'll now move on to a series of local updates, and I'm listed first on this item. I guess the thing that I've been grappling with in Shard End for the last, well, 4 or 5 months really, has been the explosion in fly tipping that has occurred across, well, it's not only across Shard End, actually, it's been right across the city. It began during the first lockdown last spring and then continued right through the summer. But I think with some support from the refuse service of the City Council, we now managed to get back on top of this. So I'm interested to know from residents whether there continues to be such a huge problem around fly tipping as there was back in the summer. And then the other thing for me to say really is that I'm aware that Monday and Tuesday are collection days for the refuse collection service in Shard End. Obviously, there's not been, there certainly weren't collections yesterday. There was a limited service today. And the advice from Birmingham City Council is that if your rubbish did not get collected either yesterday or today, to leave your bin out, and the service will look to catch up as we go through the week. If anybody at some point this week doesn't get a collection, if you want to drop me an email, I'm more than happy to chase that up on your behalf. And I'm happy to take any questions on anything either related to Shard End or indeed, as I said earlier, wearing my other hat in connection with the City Council and anything that it's doing really. I'll do my best to answer those questions. So has anybody got any questions or comments? Any feelings around whether the level of fly tipping has improved, moved in the right direction? Astrid?
Hi, thanks for letting me speak. Yes, definitely. Tipping has been a big problem in our area for sure. Is there any more people from the council or definitely around the parks? That's where most of the rubbish is being displayed, honestly, to be employed by the council to clear out all this mess, because during summer it's happening a lot, during winter a little bit less, but we still have issues for sure. But it's very rare. I've never come across any kind of ranger or anyone who's looking after the park who is responsible for that really. The communities, it's great if we can all get together and do some work, and that's what we're trying to achieve, but it's very difficult without the support of the government, honestly.
Yes, we did. We used to have a ranger actually in the park here in Shardend, but unfortunately, during the period of austerity from 2010, with the council's budgets being cut, we lost that ranger. Having said that, we, the city council, we're making provision to spend an extra £3 to £4 million on cleaning the streets in the next financial year and in the years after that. So I would anticipate that we will see more of an effort and some more personnel on the streets cleaning up rubbish. But of course, they're only cleaning that rubbish up because we're all dropping it in the first instance or fly tipping it. So really what we need to do is try to get to a situation where it becomes unacceptable for people to be dropping litter. Rather than the council running around picking it up after us. But I would hope, Astrid, you will see some more people deployed onto the street across Shardend over the next, well, beyond April is the start of the new financial year, isn't it? Beyond April. And hopefully we will see the area becoming cleaner and not experience the kind of problems we experienced last summer when the level of fly tipping, I've never known it be as bad as it was last summer. It really was awful.
Yes, I agree. The challenge also that I observe is there's a very small amount of bins in the area as well.
Litter bins.
Yeah, bins in general. Either for cigarettes, there's nothing for cigarettes, so people are, throwing their cigarettes everywhere. There's no ashtrays or anything like that, and there's hardly any bins. You walk around the park, around the lake near Shardend, there's 3 bins in total.
Right. Okay. I wonder, Bev, whether you could just draft an email that we've dropped it to Darren Share about that, whether we can get the number of bins looked at. Let me bring in Roger.
Certainly.
Nice to see you, Roger.
Yes, hi. Sorry, a bit late joining you. I believe the I believe the agenda 6:30. My question is a perennial one, actually. LCP. Astrid is, as you may already have said, is looking at sort of like environmental matters, particularly around the square and around the church. And obviously, we're not going to be able to do this without LCP on board. And given the ongoing debate with LCP about the square, is there anything that you can add, anything that you can comment on? Do you think there's any way we can get LCP on board?
Are you talking about repairs to the square now, Roger?
Yes, but also they haven't actually been meeting their obligations about maintaining the landscape. And Astrid has a scheme whereby we could maybe take this over.
Okay, right. Until you just mentioned that, I wasn't aware of that. So shall I take that away and see if I can get some information via Alan Porter about that?
Yes.
Yeah, because they are the managing agent and they should be looking after the landscaping in this particular location. But you've made an offer to take it over from them, did you say?
Well, we are having a debate about this, but obviously we won't be able to get anywhere unless we have the agreement of LCP. And obviously, I mean, one of the things is the businesses are actually paying a maintenance charge and they're not getting it.
No.
Yeah.
It's something we might be able to do in conjunction with Welcome.
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. Astrid, were you going to add to that?
Yeah, as a community, there's so much we're happy to do. So we're really trying to, build a community group and a cohesion and, all get on the same page. But there is the political aspect that is challenging with land ownership. As a community, as people that live here, it's difficult to do certain things within our area if we don't own the land, or we need to ask LCP or other big landowners to act on the land when nothing is happening. There's bushes everywhere. Beside bushes, could we maybe instead grow some food and respond to some problems that we're currently having? There's a plan that we're working on in partnership with Shardend Community Forum as well as Welcome Change, and we're all pulling our forces together but we do need support from the council in order to achieve this work that we want to do, which is supporting communities to become more self-sufficient and sustainable in their living. Especially with starting with community gardens, cleaning our streets, and creating healthy living.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me chase up with Alan Porter, is the local engineer for Shard End, about LCP and what they are or are not doing with the landscaping. And also, Roger, I'll check in with Alan as to where he's got to with the repairs to the square. It's an ongoing battle that we seem to have been at it forever and a day.
It's always the same problem.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you think it's actually going to go? This is end up going to go to law?
Well, I'd hope not, because the only people who gain from that will be lawyers.
Yes.
And what we need is the square repaired. The money spent there, not on lawyers.
Have you got Barrett's involved in this?
No.
Do you think they should, as they didn't actually do the drainage properly in the first instance, which is probably LCP's defence?
No, I don't think it can be, because they have taken it on from Barrett's. They can't have a defence that Barrett's didn't do right in the first place. They shouldn't have. They should have done the due diligence on it before they took on the managing licence. So I'll pursue this again with Alan Porter, but I don't know whether we might have to go up the chain of command in LCP actually to get them to do something here, because this has been dragging on and on.
About 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, Roger, while I'm at it, apologies for the fact that you are quite right. I hadn't noticed this myself, actually. The agenda says start time of 6:30. That was incorrect.
My apologies.
I've got to disappear in about 15 minutes. I've got another meeting with my charity group.
Okay.
So anything anybody's got for me, you've got about 10 minutes.
Well, you sound as busy as I am. Has anybody got any other questions or indeed comments about either Shard End, Birmingham City Council, whatever? No. Okay, well, let's move on then to the local police team. Now, I received earlier on today a note from the local police. I don't think there's anybody on here. Oh, Millie.
Yeah, I'm here.
You
here,
are
Mr.
here, yeah.
Yeah,
Hi.
I'm here, Mr. Ward. Hello. Yeah, I'm Sergeant Jenkins, one of the neighbourhood sergeants at Shard End Police Station. I work alongside Sergeant Matthew Goldsmith. We've both been in the neighbourhood approximately 6 months. So although I'm on a rest day, I wanted to make the time to take part in this forum and give an update and actually try to build some relationships, get to know some people in these difficult times. So if you'd like me to run through, Mr. Ward, if you want me to run through some of the items that I sent to you on the email earlier, just to update the community.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I know you were just talking earlier about fly tipping and an increase in fly tipping and discarding of rubbish, which I have and my team have noticed sort of recently. So we do have an application on our mobile devices with the application Fix My Street. So we always ensure that that's reported to the council, so it goes onto their alert system and they know that there's an issue in a specific area. So we always make sure we do that as a priority whenever it's seen. So if I just come on to COVID and what West Midlands Police and what we're doing in the Shard End area. So there are regular COVID patrols. Also, additional staff are being brought in to ensure that those COVID patrols are maintained right across the whole Hodge Hill constituency and across the whole of Birmingham East. What we do is encourage the public to report any parties, any COVID breaches to either 999 if it's an ongoing, emergency, or 101. Where this will be picked up and the patrol car will attend the address and ensure that any fines or directions to leave are put in place and appropriate action is taken in relation to that. But it is our priority and it is being done every single day, all day long. So has anyone got any questions about sort of the COVID side of what West Midlands Police are doing.
Not seeing any hands coming up.
Okay. So I just sort of want to start really by saying thank you to the community. We have some really good community members, which I've slowly started to get to know. So we've got some new neighbourhood watch coordinators who I've introduced myself to earlier this week. Street watch, speed watch members, resident groups. So I just want to say a big thank you to all your help, and hoping that we can continue, hopefully in 2021, when COVID is under control, we can really start to get to meet each other in person and really make a difference out in the community with you. Let me go into some of the issues for Shard End and what we're doing to tackle those. So if you have a look at the Shard End Twitter account, WMP Shard End Twitter, you'll see regular updates and pictures of different jobs that we've attended and reassurance work that we're doing. So just keep an eye on that, because it gives you a good idea of work that we're doing. Also, if anyone on this forum isn't a member of WM Now, please let me know. I will give Councillor Ward the email for the Shard End Police shared email, and we can get you signed up. We just need your email address. You will then receive a notification into your email, and we'll make sure that you have that. And that gives you regular updates, ward update documents from your local policing unit, and regular crime updates as well. So it is really useful to have that. So overall, crime is reduced from this time last year, and that's in most crime, except for domestic abuse, where we have seen that sort of that increase across the whole country because of the COVID restrictions amplifying those issues and resulting in an increased reporting. So in relation to that, obviously domestic abuse is one of the policing priorities as well, to ensure that all action is taken and swift action is taken on these offenders, and that all reports of domestic abuse are attended as a priority. Another priority is youth crime and tackling that. Up Guardian is what it's called in West Midlands Police. We were given a certain budget by the Police and Crime Commissioner to tackle this across the West Midlands. What we're doing in Shard End, since I've started, I've identified all of the local youths that are causing an issue in the area, either causing antisocial behaviour, carrying weapons, and we have produced a really good package on these individuals. Obviously, because of their age and those reporting restrictions, wouldn't be able to give you any information on those, but I just want to assure you that we know who they are and that we're working with the parents and the schools as a sort of whole partnership group to try and tackle these issues. Starting to get to know the parents and starting to sort of identify their own issues and needs, because it's a long-term strategy, not something that, you know, just making an arrest is the start of it, but it's then putting those other things in place to help families cope with teenagers, especially through lockdown. But if you've got any questions on that, I can answer that later. So yeah, we've got a good grip of the local youths, and we really are tackling those. We've made some arrests recently with some of the youths that were in possession of weapons, and they've been in custody, and inquiries are ongoing with that. Increasing stop and searches, which are always proportionate and necessary, and making sure that those are always on body worn cameras, which we always have on during those stop and searches, to make sure that when we do stop and search anyone, that it is done with proportionality and necessity. So going on to quad bikes and off-road scramblers, I have seen these myself around Shard End, and what we did at the weekend was ask our traffic colleagues to come over who are pursuit trained and who are trained to be able to respond to this type of incident safely, and they come over at the weekend, but because of the snow they were somewhat hampered, because we have as you know, safety for the public, that if we start chasing these quad bikes and scramblers, so we really need your help around the community to identify who are these offenders. Do we know where they're coming from? Do we know what vehicles they're bringing the quad bikes and scramblers in on the weekend, and especially Saturdays and Sundays? Report that to Crime Stoppers if you don't want to be identified, or to 101, and make sure that we're receiving that intelligence, because we're going to do some more work around these individuals. The issue is when they're coming into the park, they're sort of going right across different constituencies, so they'll be going across into Babbs Mill and then down into Sheldon. Lots of different entrances and exits with the parks as well, but we are identifying that, and we are doing some more proactive work around that as well. We successfully obtained a criminal behaviour order recently for a youth in Shard End. The criminal behaviour order is quite a lengthy and complicated application that has to be done upon conviction of an offence. So we successfully obtained one of those for a local youth with 4 conditions: to not enter the park, not to be in a group of more than 4 people, not to ride on a motorbike or be a passenger on a motorbike, and not to wear a full face covering. Obviously with COVID, allowed to wear a COVID covering, but not sort of something like a balaclava, and that's been put in place, and that person is now under those conditions. We can't put the details of that person because of the age and reporting restrictions, but that person, we know who they are, and we're monitoring them to make sure that that behaviour is under control. Yeah, we've been in contact with the Pump in Shard End, where they're starting to try and do some more working towards their outreach programme during lockdown. And also I visited Shard End Community Centre, where they're trying to keep going, just prior to these latest lockdowns, keep going with the some of the youth groups that they can. So we're linking in with all of those community groups at the moment as best we can. We also attended a community event in Shard End over Christmas, around December time, to meet some of the public, and we're going to continue with those further engagement with that event. See what else that you may like to know. Yeah, there was a spike in burglaries at the start of January, targeting some elderly residents. So what we've done is make sure that all of those residents have received a letter, because they may not be online and may not receive the reassurance on the website and online. They might not have, because of their age, they might not have access to that. So we delivered letters to all of the elderly in those 3 locations that we were looking at, to give that reassurance and visit them at a safe distance to make sure that they've had that reassurance. I'm not sure if any of the local charities have received an email about Police and Crime Commissioner Office with funding, Councillor Ward, that charities can apply for that money, and the time is now to apply for it. Do you know if that's gone out?
I don't, but I do think that Roger, who's ironically just left us, probably would have been interested in that for the Shard End communities. They no doubt will be interested in applying, and I think also, let me bring in actually Astrid, who is probably also going to be interested. Astrid.
Hi, yes, we'll definitely be interested in anything that can support the community and help us to bring cohesion and support each other. I totally agree in regards of youth. We've got a challenge here. I think what's interesting, and yes, how can we work together in order to respond to the ongoing problem that we have with youth? I definitely want to find solutions with the police and local organization, and how we can implement solutions for those youth and create spaces for them to you know, to be in and to enjoy, as well as internship and other organizations and programs for them. So anything you have in order of the community, please send it through. Sorry, I've got the kids, so I'm going to mute myself.
That's okay, don't worry about that. There's also a couple of thank yous for you and your team in the chat, Millie.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, so if Mr. Ward, if you could pass Roger's email to me and Astra's, and then I can contact them directly. Any telephone number or emails, that would be great. Also, we're aware of where our stolen cars are deposited. So we've been doing patrols in the area. There's not too many, but we do know where they're regularly, if they are being left for a couple of days before they're then moved. We're getting onto that and recovering quite a lot of stolen cars from other areas. They're not stolen in Chardenne, but sometimes they're brought to Chardenne and then left there. But we are tackling that, and we know, and we're getting those recovered and taken back to their owners. We are developing some warrants at the moment, but we will put that on WM Now and Twitter once we've taken action on those. And just in relation to our connect and build strategy, which is connecting with the community and building relationships, what we're trying to do is try and get what our three main issues are within Chardenne from the community. So is it fly tipping? Is it speeding? Is it antisocial behaviour? And then really concentrate on those top three issues, and then how we can work together to tackle those through reassurance, through visits, through, you know, however we can do it together. And is it quad biking? And just sort of like, let's concentrate on these top three and throw everything that we can at these top three issues, and really look at, in the short term, medium term and long term, how we can tackle these issues together. So if there's any way that could be, it's just how we would get that feedback from the members of the community back to us. Could either be on Twitter or via WM Now. Just send us a message. I'll give that some more thought as well. But Mr. Ward, if you've got any other ideas, how we can get sort of that properly assessed, what everyone, you know, thinks that is. And then last night I held a meeting with the residents group leaders for Chardenne, Kicks Green and Lee Village, and that was a useful, and the Glebe. We're going to hold those meetings on a monthly basis, and just start to do those, and then work towards, once lockdown is over, meeting up in person. So yeah, it was just really to say thank you for all your help. We are doing our best in these difficult times, and if you've got any questions, any queries, any suggestions, we're happy to listen.
Thanks, Millie. I do know from past experience that antisocial behaviour tends to be the #1 issue in Chardenne, and just connected with that, the misuse of either motorbikes or these four-wheel vehicles on the country park, particularly in the summer months. People do seem to come from far and wide to ride motor vehicles across the park, which of course they shouldn't be doing. And I think between the council and the police, we need to try and get on top of that this coming summer. If actually, Millie, there's any access points where the council needs to do more to make it more difficult to get these vehicles onto the country park, do let me know, because I will get the council to act on that.
Yeah, definitely. One of my PCSOs went out to the park the other day, and we were looking around at the entrances and exits, and we've also been speaking to the park warden to try and sort of assess it and see. I know that I had a report from one of the neighbourhood watch members to say that the bollard at the entrance to where she resides had been knocked over. That would make it easier for her to get in. So we'll start to assess that, make sure we've got it all collated, and then work with yourselves to see what the budget looks like. If there's any money available to help do any repairs, that would be great.
Okay, I think Mike Hinton's onto that bollard issue, isn't he? He's yeah. Donald, did I just see your hand come up? You just need to unmute, Donald. Yeah, go ahead. Can't hear you, Don, unfortunately. I can see that you're trying to speak, Don, but unfortunately we can't hear you. Oh, go ahead. I did get that.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. There's a mention I've put on about the lifebelts around the Pittor Road Lake.
Yes.
There was one day a couple of weeks ago. Can you hear me
Yep.
now?
Yep.
I walked around the lake a couple of weeks ago. Two lights chucked into the water by the sea cadets, and walking further, there were 2 or 3 other lights chucked into the water there. It's very irresponsible.
Yeah, absolutely. I will ask Mike Hinton to get somebody out to check on that. I wonder, Bev, could you just drop Mike Hinton an email to make him aware that the life belts have been thrown in the lake yet again?
Yes, will do.
And also, Ian.
Yep.
Ian.
Yeah.
Also, I was another day I was walking and I discovered where it belonged to by the junction with so I wheeled it all the way down to where our home is. So there's some idiots going around and messing about.
You were breaking up quite a lot there, Don, so I didn't quite catch what that issue was. Do you want to have another go?
All right.
I wondered, Donald, if you could put that in the chat, that last issue, because you were breaking up badly. I couldn't hear what you said.
I'll put that in the chat. All right. Yeah. Thank you,
Right.
Ian. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Millie? We're definitely having connection problems this evening because I think you were just dropped out of the meeting as well, weren't you, Millie?
Yeah.
Anybody? Anything else on policing? Okay, if nobody's got anything on that, let's move on to the next item then, which is highways. And we do have in the meeting this evening Kevin Gibbon, who works for Kia, who are the highway contractor of the City Council. So, Kevin.
Good evening, everybody. I'll keep this nice and short and sweet, to be fair. So, first update from me is we've got some schemes coming up that we're going to be undertaking. The first one, all these are going to be footway schemes. So we've got Brookmeadow Close, the footways are going to be redone. Brookmeadow Road, Shardend Crescent and Walsham Croft. They're all coming up between now and sort of May. So hopefully nice new shiny footpaths on those roads. With regards to any defects or anything, if anybody notices potholes, trip hazards, anything, please continue to let us know either via the Birmingham Council's website or reporting through councillor, and then we'll get them repaired as soon as we can.
Thanks, Kevin. Anybody, any comments on this? Because certainly the Heath Way was full of potholes the last time I drove down there. If that can be looked at, Kevin, that'd be helpful.
The section between, let me guess, the section between Shardend Crescent and the First Island.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else on anything to do with the highway? Any
potholes, trips, loose slabs, grass verge issues? Yeah, we can look at all that.
Quick question, Kevin, if you don't
Yeah.
mind. You know, by the Shardway, the first intersection, I don't remember the road, but there's always accidents there. Would it be possible to have a mirror located there so that we can see when we engage ourselves on the road? Because when we come from that small side road, I've been seeing a lot of police in this area. You know, the first little intersection just after the Chardin Crescent. Once we get onto the Châteauet and we pass the Harlequin surgery, there's always accidents there, and I think it's just due to lack of view.
Yes,
Okay, so-
you're
so
right,
from-
Astrid. There's been a problem with that junction for some time. Actually, it's caused by a trip rail being erected in front of the flats on the Heathway, which has forced the cars to park on the road. And you are absolutely correct. Turning right out of Brownfield Road onto the Heathway is very, very difficult. The highway engineer, Alan Porter, has got a solution to this, which involves building out the footway at that particular junction so that traffic emerging from Brownfield Road will have a better sight line. Now he's about to implement this scheme, I think, over the coming months. So hopefully you'll see some work to improve that junction. Great. Okay. Anybody? Anything else? Any other highway issues? That one we've just discussed has been the one that I've had most emails about over the last 6 or 7 months, really.
Yeah, also from my point of view, also been involved in a very near miss at that junction. Yeah, I do understand the situation, and I am working with Alan Porter to sort that out. So we will get a resolution to that.
Excellent. Okay, if nobody's got anything else on highways, the final item then on the agenda this evening is opportunity for residents or indeed community groups to raise any issues we haven't spoken about thus far in the meeting that you want to bring up. Anybody, anything on this? I have to say everybody's been very well behaved this evening. Astrid. You're muted, Astrid.
So sorry, I'm the only one who's talking here. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
I think I've already expressed a little bit what's the plan in regards of community. I think in regards of community, there is definitely a cohesion missing. We're all living in our little bubbles, and we're all struggling in different ways. And especially with COVID, it's very, very hard to have this contact and talking to people, and having what we would get from normal society in normal time, which we're not getting. And we are sociable, we are humans at the end of the day. So with Blueprint and with working with other organizations, we're really trying really hard to create those opportunities for people without being face to face. I think there's more and more work that needs to be done. Any support somewhere, somehow from you or any other things that have been done in the past would be great. I'd be very happy to share with you the plan that we have with Chardin Community Forum and the rest of our partners in regards for Chardin and how we can work as a stronger community. But in regards of problems, the way I see it is food and becoming a bit more self-sufficient in how we approach living, because we are living in very uncertain times and we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. So this is the perfect time, actually, even if we can't see each other, this is the perfect time actually to create all those links. That's something I'd like to see from everybody, trying to reach out to the neighbors some way, somehow. In my blog, I've been giving cakes out in tubs and trying to interact with the kids, finding little games just by writing letters. So I will encourage everybody really to try to do nice things for the neighbors, and from the point you do nice things, other people will do nice things, and that's just the way it goes. So that's what I gotta say.
Thanks, Astrid. And maybe we could get the plan you've just referred to onto an agenda of a future one of these meetings. And if people can help actually with spreading the news that these meetings are now online, I think we might get one or two more residents actually coming along. Appreciate not everybody's got access to the IT equipment and the internet, but I think we could probably get more people into these meetings if we all advertise them and shared the link. Millie? You're muted. You're muted,
Sorry.
Millie.
I am muted.
Yeah, you are now.
We can advertise it on WM now, which could reach quite a lot of people. So yeah, not a problem. We can do that for next time.
Great. So anything else anybody wants to raise? We all done for this evening. The one other thing I'll mention then, given I've just asked people to advertise these meetings, is the next one of these. I'm going to suggest, Bev, that we could hold another one of these meetings on Tuesday the 9th of March, on that evening. Does that work?
9th of March. I'll just check my calendar. If you can see. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, Councillor. So 6 o'clock. I'll make sure it's 6 o'clock on the agenda, not 6:30.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're very short-sighted. You can't see a thing. So 6 o'clock. That's absolutely fine, Councillor Ward. Yeah.
Great. So 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 9th of March, we'll have another one of these meetings. And perhaps, Astrid, you could present that plan you just referred to into that meeting. Would that be okay?
Oh, yes, with pleasure. We'd love to do that.
Right. Okay. If nobody's got anything else they want to raise or talk about, then I'm going to let you all get back to your lives. So thank you for coming along this evening, and hopefully I'll see you all on Tuesday the 9th of March, and do encourage other people to come along to that meeting on the 9th. Anything you want to raise or anything you'd like to see on an agenda, actually, if you want to drop me an email, then I'll try to ensure that we do put things on the agenda that you'd like to talk about. In the meantime, can I wish you all a good evening, and please do keep safe. And thanks for sharing your time with us this evening. Thanks very much.